Breaking news out of Texas, Bigfoot is real, according to a group of researchers.
I literally lived in the woods, and so I felt my knowledge of, wildlife and just how the forest works really was going to help me along in my journey.
One man in Kaiser says he encountered the mythic beast just last week.
It has been years since deputies in Cleveland County have heard stories like this.
Minutes ago, breaking news hit that the elusive Bigfoot was spotted once more in Washington, the state already infamous for the most sightings, 676 to be exact. Not too far behind, California reports a chilling 445 encounters. Across the U.S., over 10,000 people claim to have seen this mysterious creature. What secrets does this stealthy giant hold in the dense forest? Tune in as we dive deep into the shadows of the wilderness in our special report, Expedition Bigfoot Researcher. We've tracked him down, the hidden world of Bigfoot in America. An explorer has just come across Bigfoot. Believe it or not, Washington State has the highest number of sightings with 676 reports. California isn't far behind with 445 sightings. These aren't just campfire stories. There have been over 10,000 Bigfoot sightings in the U.S. alone. Let's dive into the mystery of this famous creature and uncover what might be hiding in the wild. As the explorer's eyes adjust to the dim light of the dense forest, he freezes, catching a glimpse of something massive moving just beyond the trees. Many of us love the outdoors, the amazing views, the sounds of birds and trees. It's something special. From wild animals like lions and tigers to the beauty of hills and mountains, nature has a way of grabbing our attention. But there's more out there than just the things we know. Sometimes the wild hides creatures even more interesting. For thousands of years, people have been fascinated by stories of strange, magical creatures. Think of unicorns, mermaids, and dragons. These are just a few of the creatures that have lived in our imaginations. As time has gone on, though, these creatures have started to feel more like stories from the past, fading away as humans spread across the world. But even today, there are still stories of mysterious creatures, especially in the United States. One of the most talked about is Bigfoot, also known as Sasquatch. This creature is often described as tall, covered in hair, and somewhat human-like. It's said to live in the thickest, most remote forests in North America. Bigfoot has been a part of American and Canadian folklore for many years, and people are still fascinated by the idea of this mysterious creature. But here's where it gets tricky. While many are curious and want to believe, the proof that's been shared is often seen as weak or unreliable. This keeps people wondering if Bigfoot is real or just a legend. Many people are dedicated to finding proof that Bigfoot exists in the forests of North America. One of these people is Tony Harris, the lively host of the show The Proof is Out There. Tony loves looking into the unknown, from ghost stories to other strange and supernatural events around the world. He and his team are always excited to follow new leads that could help explain these old legends. During his search, Tony met Stacy Brown Jr., a researcher and filmmaker from Crawfordville, Florida. Stacy's interest in the supernatural started with his dad, with whom he shared a strong bond. Together, they were curious about things like UFOs, strange creatures, and of course, Bigfoot. They often went on late-night trips into the woods, calling these outings their Bigfooting adventures. One day that Stacy remembers well is when his dad called him in the middle of the day with a surprise. He wanted to go Bigfooting that evening. These trips only made Stacy more fascinated by Bigfoot and brought him and his dad closer. Growing up in a small town, Stacy had a unique view of the stories and legends about mysterious creatures. It seemed like his hometown was always surrounded by this sense of mystery. Stacy's first trip into the woods started a journey that changed him. He called it the haunting shadows of forest legends. The experiences he had were powerful. Stacy always felt more at home in the forest than in the city, where you couldn't see nature in its wildest form. Living in the woods gave him skills and knowledge he believed would help him find the legendary creature people said hid in the thick trees. But nothing could have prepared Stacy and his father for what they would come across on a warm summer day in 2012. The evening felt unusually quiet, as if waiting for something unexpected. A haunted night in the forest. Stacy was usually calm, and that night was no different, probably because he hadn't brought along his dad's new thermal camera. If he had, things might have been very different. His dad, usually calm too, was gripped with fear when the camera suddenly stopped working. At that moment, his dad, a former Army Ranger, turned to Stacy and with a look of fear he'd never shown before, asked if Stacy had brought a gun. That question alone was enough to make Stacy's skin crawl. It was something his dad had never asked before. But that wasn't the scariest part of the night. They managed to make it back to their truck safely, even though they were shaken. The whole experience left them both scared and curious about what they had encountered. Later, when they checked the footage from the thermal camera, they saw something that made Stacy freeze. The image looked like it could be Bigfoot. Stacy was so shocked by this discovery that he couldn't let it go. "We have to go back," he insisted, determined to learn more about what they might have found. Stacy and his dad had no idea that their day was about to get even more exciting when they wandered into a famous forest, still chilly from the morning mist. This forest was well known for being linked to stories about Bigfoot, a huge and mysterious creature that many say lives in the wilds of North America. As they walked deeper into the woods, their excitement grew when they thought they caught a glimpse of Bigfoot through their camera. The image was shaky, partly because of their excitement and the cold, but it made the experience even more thrilling. Across the United States, people have reported seeing Bigfoot many times, about 23,000 sightings since the late 1800s. These stories usually involve someone catching a quick look at a strange figure in the forest or snapping a photo that leaves more questions than answers. A lot of these sightings happen in places like the Pacific Northwest, where dense forests make it easy to believe something mysterious could be hiding. One of the most talked about pieces of evidence is the 1967 Patterson-Gimlin film, which supposedly shows a Bigfoot walking through the woods. Even though many people are skeptical about whether the film is real, it has played a huge part in making Bigfoot a well-known legend in American culture. This film, along with all the other reports over the years, feeds into our fascination with creatures that might exist but we can't prove for sure. But this wasn't the only strange part. The more people heard about Bigfoot, the more the stories grew, spreading across different regions and cultures. These stories show just how much we love the idea that there could be something out there in the wild that we haven't discovered yet. In places like Hocking Hills, Ohio, Bigfoot is more than just a story. He's become part of the local culture. People have reported sightings of Bigfoot in this area since the late 1800s. The thick forests and quiet rural surroundings make it easy for such legends to thrive. The local community even celebrates these stories with festivals and gatherings, keeping the mystery alive. Even with all these reports and sightings, Bigfoot remains a symbol of the unknown. Whether he's a real creature or just a story, the idea of Bigfoot captures our imagination and keeps us wondering what might be out there in America's vast and wild forests. The sight filled Stacy with excitement, his heart pounding. But his dad wasn't feeling the same way. "Maybe we should turn back," his dad said cautiously. Even though his dad wanted to leave, Stacy couldn't forget what they had seen. He was sure there was something incredible waiting for them deeper in the forest. That belief only made him more eager to keep exploring. Stacy couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to what they saw. Bigfoot's deadliest evidence. But that wasn't the end of their adventure. Even as his father hesitated, Stacy knew they were onto something that was worth investigating further. Something told him they hadn't seen the last of whatever was out there. Stacy felt a mix of frustration and fear at the idea of going back by himself. So he decided to contact Cliff Barackman, a well-known Bigfoot expert. Cliff replied quickly, showing a lot of interest and offering to dig deeper into the investigation. Still, Stacy and his dad weren't sure if they wanted to go back to the spot on their own. Cliff had the knowledge and confidence that Stacy and his dad lacked. He organized a full exploration of the area to try and gather more proof of Bigfoot. Stacy felt relieved and excited that an expert was taking charge, knowing the task was too much for him and his dad to handle alone. Meanwhile, that same summer in 2019, Doug Teague's usual walk in the woods near Hickory, North Carolina, took an unexpected turn. Doug's experience in the Carolina forest quickly became a hot topic. Stacy and his dad stayed convinced that their video was real, even though others doubted them. They saw it as undeniable proof of Bigfoot. Around the same time in 2019, Doug Teague went for a casual walk with his dog Daisy through the woods. He had no idea that this simple stroll would lead to a surprising discovery. While enjoying the peaceful forest, Doug came across something strange. Luckily, he had his phone and managed to record a large, shadowy figure moving among the trees. Doug believed it was Bigfoot. The video wasn't very clear and it was hard to make out any details, but the figure was definitely there. Feeling nervous, Doug calmed Daisy and quickly left the area. Doug's real trouble started once he got home and had time to settle down. He told everyone he had seen a huge creature, dark with some silver on it, almost like a gorilla standing 8 feet tall. This description matched the creature he managed to capture on video, but there was a problem. The video quality was so poor that it was hard for others to see the details Doug was talking about. All the video really showed was a blurry shape, leaving people to wonder if it was Bigfoot at all. Doug explained that the creature had been moving more before he started filming. At first, he thought the knocking sounds he heard in the woods were just from a woodpecker. That changed quickly when a rock was thrown in his direction, which some people say is something Bigfoot does. This, along with the unclear video, kept the conversations about Bigfoot alive even though there still wasn't any solid proof. Things got stranger after Doug was knocked down a slope. He started hearing loud, deep grunts nearby, making him think there was some kind of creature around. But he couldn't tell for sure if those noises were coming from the creature people whispered about. Carefully, Doug kept moving through the forest. It wouldn't make sense to try to convince Cliff Barackman, a longtime researcher, that those sounds didn't matter. Cliff had spent a lot of time in the forests of North Carolina, where sightings of Bigfoot had been reported as far back as the 1800s. This reminded Ken Gart, another researcher, of stories of a local Bigfoot called Nye, which had been spotted many times close to where Doug was. The morning light made the forest seem inviting, yet mysterious. Whispers in the woods. But that wasn't even the worst part. Eager to figure out what was really going on, Doug set up his gear, hoping to capture real proof of Bigfoot. He was excited when he managed to film some video and make molds of footprints left by something unseen in the forest one warm summer day. Cliff, who loved collecting evidence like this, was thrilled. He carefully looked at Doug's footprints and compared them to another set that had already been confirmed as real. To his surprise, they matched almost perfectly. This discovery opened new doors for the team, giving them hope that they were onto something big. Tony, another member of the group, wasn't as sure about the video. He thought it was a bit unclear. He agreed they were interesting. Still, he reminded everyone that they needed to stay cautious, as many people have faked footprints in the past just to fool those eager for proof. The team wasn't about to stop there, though. Tony and the rest decided to take their findings to Kathy Strain, an expert in this field, to get her opinion and maybe confirm they were on the right track. When Kathy, a skilled anthropologist, took a look at the mold Doug made, she was struck by how real it seemed. The detailed shape of the toes made her think it might belong to a large hominid, maybe even living right in that forest. This new piece of evidence made Doug's sighting feel a lot more believable, but even this wasn't enough to convince everyone. Lucy Eckersley, the team's wildlife biologist, wasn't sold just yet. She focused on the distance between the footprints. Each one was about 6 feet apart, suggesting a large creature, but she wasn't ready to jump to conclusions. She needed more proof before she could believe in what they had found. Her logical mind needed solid evidence to believe that Doug had really seen something unusual. But that wasn't the only challenge they faced. As their investigation continued, they spent days in the woods, carefully looking at every clue they could find. Each new discovery helped them understand more, but it also brought up more questions. The quiet woods seemed to be hiding something, and every small noise in the bushes felt important, keeping the group on edge. The differences in opinion between Kathy and Lucy brought a lively energy to the group. Kathy was quick to believe they had found a new large animal just from the footprints. Meanwhile, Lucy wanted more proof and made sure they kept their investigation based on science. This mix of belief and doubt pushed them to look at every piece of evidence with both excitement and careful attention. But the surprises weren't over yet. As the days went by, the team found more footprints and noticed small signs of movement in the woods. They wondered how such a creature could change the environment around it. Every piece of information they gathered made their understanding deeper, turning their journey into an exciting adventure. They weren't just trying to prove or disprove a theory, they were discovering the hidden life in the woods, where every shadow and leaf could tell a fascinating story. However, things were about to get even stranger. The tracks we found were huge, suggesting that whatever made them was about 15 feet tall. We figured this out based on how far apart each footprint was. Strangely, the creature caught on camera wasn't very clear, but it still seemed big enough to leave such massive tracks. Lucy's thoughts got everyone talking, and soon we were rethinking what we originally believed. After finding the footprints, they all wondered what the truth really was. Exposing the mystery of Daisy's calm. While we were discussing the footage, Lucy pointed out something odd. Everyone noticed that Daisy, Doug's dog, stayed very calm during the whole thing. Normally, a dog would react if a big unfamiliar creature was nearby, but Daisy was completely quiet the entire time. Maybe Doug trained her really well, but her calmness was strange. This made us wonder, was it really Bigfoot? Or maybe it was just a large bear? But Doug's story made the bear idea less likely. He said the creature threw rocks, and bears can't do that because they don't have hands like humans. Lucy had another idea. Maybe it was a silverback gorilla. She suggested this because the creature seemed hunched over and covered in fur, which are traits of a gorilla that could also throw things. However, there's a problem with that theory. Silverback gorillas don't live in the area where Doug filmed. This makes the mystery even deeper. If it wasn't a gorilla, then what was it? That question stayed with us, adding more layers to Doug's strange experience in the woods. Another idea was that it could be a new species, something no one has discovered yet. Maybe Daisy didn't react because the creature's smell was unfamiliar but not threatening. This could mean Doug actually encountered a Sasquatch, something completely unknown to science. But things got even more confusing when Lucy suggested that maybe someone was playing a trick. This new idea only made our investigation into the strange events in the forest more complicated. This wasn't the first time someone had tried pulling off a stunt like this. Even after watching the video, Doug, Kate, and Lucy weren't convinced they had any real proof of Bigfoot. Tony, after looking closely at the strange footprint and its mold, also didn't think it confirmed Bigfoot was real. At first, they were excited by the clues, but the bad video quality and shaky evidence didn't really persuade them. Tony even thought someone might have faked the evidence to fool people. He figured the video probably showed someone in a costume pretending to be Bigfoot. This made the group start to doubt what they had found, and their excitement quickly faded. They were left with more questions than answers. But this wasn't the worst part. The more they thought about it, the more they realized how easy it was for people to be tricked by things like this. They started to wonder if other Bigfoot sightings were fake too. Still, this doubt only made them more determined to find real proof, even if it meant going back to the beginning. While it might have been discouraging for those who wanted Bigfoot to be real, it was hard to completely rule out the possibility. What if the figure they saw really was Bigfoot wandering through the forests of North Carolina? If people like Doug and Kate thought the video was enough proof, maybe there was some truth to it. But this wasn't the end of their search. Even though the evidence was shaky, it kept their curiosity alive. Maybe one day they'd find undeniable proof that Bigfoot exists. Until then, the search continues because who knows? The real proof could still be out there, waiting to be found. Could the huge figure in North Carolina actually be Bigfoot? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep following for more updates on this mysterious quest.